In today's video, we're talking about It, Welcome to Derry. And I'm just going to say it, guys. This is one of the best television shows of 2025. And easily in my top 3 for the year. HBO have hit another home run. And if you're a fan of It, Stephen King's work, or frankly just good television, then you should check this one out. It expands the mythology, deepens the horror, and proves that there was always more story to tell in Derry. And for the most part, it absolutely nails, and then some. Pennywise the dancing clown has never been more horrifying, and returning actor Bill Skarsgård deserves an Emmy for his performance. But before we go any further, my name is Jackson and welcome to the studio. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and engage with this video. It really helps with the growth of the channel, and best of all, it's free. And of course, spoiler warning for the whole season if you haven't watched it.
Do you think somebody could kidnap a kid and keep him underground? In the sewers?
One of the smartest and most shocking decisions this show makes happens right at the very beginning of episode 1. We're introduced to a group of kids who feel like they're being set up as our main characters. A new version of the Losers Club, if you will. And then, just like that, they're brutally killed. It's a brilliant subversion of expectations and immediately tells you this show isn't playing it safe, like a certain Netflix show airing right now. No one is protected, no one is guaranteed survival, and the Pennywise threat is very real.
Duck and cover, kiddos.
From that moment on, Welcome to Derry establishes a sense of dread that never fully lets go, and it's one hell of a ride. The most important thing the producers did was convince Bill Skarsgård to return to play Pennywise the clown, which wasn't a foregone conclusion by the way. But wow, oh wow, thank God they did, as Bill somehow manages to reinvent Pennywise again. This is easily his best work in the role. He's more unhinged, more manipulative, and much more terrifying than in the movies.
What's the matter? Do I have face on my face?
The restraint early on in the season makes his eventual appearance even more effective, and exploring his backstory was a stroke of genius from the producers. Genuinely, this should be an Emmy-winning performance for Bill Skarsgård, and hopefully he agrees to continue playing the clown in future seasons. Chris Chalk is excellent as Dick Halloran, and if you're scratching your head right now as to where you've heard that name, it is indeed the same Dick Halloran from The Shining, albeit a younger version of himself. I honestly had my reservations about them having Dick Halloran in Welcome to Derry, but his character has some of the best moments in the whole show, including showdowns with Pennywise, and Chris Chalk really sells the performance. There's talk of a spin-off series, and if Chris Chalk reprises his role, I would be instantly sold. The young actors across the board are fantastic. They are natural, believable, and emotionally convincing in a genre that often struggles with child performances. Their fear feels real, which makes the horror hit that much harder. And they all have a bright future ahead of them. Clara Stack and Ariane S. Cartaya, in particular, were so good as Lily Bainbridge and Rich Santos respectively. The rest of the supporting cast were equally great, and a big shout out to James Remar for starring in both this and Dexter Resurrection this year. Easily 2 of the best shows in 2025. Now, this show is scary, particularly in the first half of the season. They lean heavily into body horror, psychological dread, and creeping unease, rather than cheap jump scares. When the show does go graphic, it is proper graphic, such as a man's head being sliced in half by a cleaver. Some of the imagery is genuinely disturbing in the best possible way, like Marjorie hallucinating and believing she has snail eyes. The scariest thing is how real it all looks, and that is testament to the amazing effects team, camera work, and of course hair, makeup, and prosthetics departments. The slow build towards Pennywise's full emergence, roughly halfway through the season, is masterfully handled. His absence is felt long before he appears, and when he finally does, the payoff is excellent.
Down with the clown. Down here with the clown.
And as mentioned earlier, Bill Skarsgård's performance is excellent. Visually, Welcome to Derry is stunning. The cinematography and direction are top tier, and the show is dripping with atmosphere. Derry feels rotten to its core, a town soaked in trauma, denial, and cyclical evil. The production design perfectly bridges the gap between nostalgic 1960s Americana and nightmarish decay. One minute I'm thinking about how I would love to live in a town like Derry, before I'm quickly brought back to reality with the horror that encapsulates it. It Welcome to Derry feels unmistakably connected to It Chapter 1 and 2, while still carving out its own identity. There are clever tie-ins like the Richie's mum reveal and thematic callbacks that long-time fans will appreciate, along with subtle nods to Stephen King's wider universe, including Shawshank Prison, The Shining, and even the turtle god, Maturin. In fact, one of the show's biggest strengths is how it expands the lore of it, and touches on other Stephen King worlds. We get deeper insight into Pennywise's origins through the Robert Gray backstory, how the entity arrived on Earth, why it can't leave Derry, and its cyclical nature, just to name a few. It really enhances the story being told in this show, but also other entries in the Stephen King verse, making me want to rewatch The Shining and the It films in particular. With all that said, the show isn't flawless. The US Air Force storyline, while interesting on paper, is easily the weakest part of the season. It works thematically, but it never quite matches the intensity of the Derry-focused narrative with the children. The idea of the military using Pennywise as a weapon is as far-fetched as it sounds, but thankfully it doesn't ruin the show. Some of the writing is definitely questionable at times, and although I praise the effects team for the body horror and gore, the same can't be said for the CGI, particularly in the graveyard scene. Yikes. Thankfully that's the only terrible use of CGI in the whole series, but it did take me out of the scene momentarily. And thankfully the show sticks the landing with its finale. It's big, emotional, and deeply satisfying. Pure cinema is the easiest way to describe it. Yes, it's a little cheesy in places, and even heavily borrows from The Lord of the Rings, but I had no issue with that. As much as I love the return of Rich to essentially save the day, some may find that cheap, but I think it was tastefully done. And the story earns it. And Welcome to Derry does an excellent job of setting up future seasons, while also connecting the story back to the films. And I personally can't wait to watch more. In summary, It Welcome to Derry is a rare thing. A prequel that actually justifies its existence, and then expands on the lore and story tenfold, without damaging the original. It's terrifying at times, beautifully made, emotionally grounded, and packed with standout performances throughout the whole cast. This is easily one of the standout shows of 2025, as long as you can stomach the body horror, and of course, a certain killer clown. Now it's your turn to let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Did you glaze this show as much as I have, or do you have a different take? Either way, let me know, and let's discuss all things It and Derry. And if you're new here, my name is Jackson, and welcome to the studio. I cover all things television and film, usually with an emphasis on pop culture. My short-term goal is to reach that 1K sub club, but long-term I want to build a community where we can all discuss the latest and greatest in television and film together. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.